I'm Basia Sokolowska and I'm taking you through my creative alphabet. G for Green Glory, the title of my first exhibition of sun prints of plants and drawings of plants, which was held in Warsaw in Galeria Reflexy in 2011. I turned towards making sun prints by being inspired by Anna Atkins' cyanotypes. Of course, my aim was different from what she was trying to achieve and achieved, which is I wasn't trying to make an exact botanical image of a plant as a botanical illustration, which is what she did. But what I wanted to do is to explore the interaction between the plant, the photosensitized paper, the sunlight, the weather, and of course the physical process of making it. My sun prints of plants were made the first ones were made in Poland in the summer of 2009 at my family's summer house, Przetycz. There will be a later episode devoted to Przetycz in the series, so I'm not going to talk much about it, except for the aspects of the place which allowed me to work on these images. Well, there is a very big and luscious garden, quite overgrown actually in Przetycz, so I had it was a great resource of plants for my images, and a cellar which allowed me to set up a darkroom to process, to prepare the images in the first place, and then to, after they were exposed, to process them. And there is a well with water, which I use to wash the images. Now the process was actually quite a long one, because it started with selecting the plants and harvesting them, and I used what was around, and that was the whole idea. That was also a way of relating to the garden and to what grows there. So I used horseradish leaves, giant horseradish leaves, and some grapevine, and I used tall grass and all other plants, well, some of them which I thought would make interesting images. It was physically quite demanding, because I made images on 4 sheets of paper, so I had to arrange the paper and plant on it in a complete darkness, of course, and then take it outside from the cellar and expose it for, it was an experiment. It was from 30 seconds to 30 minutes, depending on the image, and then take it back, trying not to disturb it, to the dark room where I processed it and washed the images, and then I took them out to dry, and it was actually quite a surprising process in many ways, because different plants created different results. Not just the plants, but also the weather. For example, grass, which was photographed in the rain, came out with this kind of texture of raindrops in the background, and also it came in this sort of sepia color. Whereas other images, which were made in indirect sunlight, it was a sort of midsummer northern light, like this grapevine, produced a completely different color. It was the same paper as the previous image, but there is much more color to it, and it might have to do something with the juices, the substances in the grapevine, and the reaction between the plant and the photosensitive paper, as well as a different sun. So all kind of colors started to come out here, and this is so different from the two-tone images of Anna Atkins cyanotypes, when we have the white plant on blue cyanotype background. So that was quite an interesting process, physically demanding, but full of surprises and revelations. And I don't quite understand what happened there, that these and not other colors came out. I noticed that the same paper in the rain produces sort of sepia tones, and in the sun, it is in the sunlight, direct sunlight, it is kind of mauve, purplish, pinkish. But I don't know much more than that. But it was actually kind of like a signature of the plant on paper. So that was my sun printing adventure. Well, there was of course collateral damage, and that was that I drowned my mobile phone in the pocket, which was in the pocket of my raincoat. My mom sort of like, there was someone called me when I was in the cellar, and my mom sort of came down with the phone saying there's a phone call for you, and I answered and I put it in the pocket, and then I took the images. It was raining quite heavily, and then I discovered that my phone was floating in the pocket full of water. But perhaps it kind of, in a sense, is symbolic, because one thing that made sunprints so enjoyable, and that directed me towards making this kind of photographic camera-less images and not taking photos, was that I was a little bit tired and disillusioned of photography as it became after the year 2000, when it became faster, taken with phones, and very commonplace. There was too much of it. It was too easy to make, and it sort of got a bit meaningless. And as a photographer, I quite like the aspect of dealing with the medium as well as making images through the medium. And some prints of plants, which I think show the plants in their full glory, was a very appropriate method to work with.